Okay, so I think in a couple of previous webinars, I mentioned about the macro level environment, what is happening at the macro level, and what you are seeing on your screen is related to the GDP growth globally in different regions. And the reality is that since almost 9-10 years now, since the last crisis which took place in 2008, 2009, I think the global economy, most of the countries are doing very well. There has been no major setup, and it's quite stable all around the world. Some economies are doing very well, but all stable economies, stable countries are doing very well. So that's one thing very clear. Number two, in terms of the employment or unemployment, also majority of the economies around the globe are doing very well. Now, of course, US market and some other developed markets are doing much better than expected, but even other economies are also doing very well. So it's very stable employment market around the world. And finally, if you look at the businesses, so this chart you are looking is basically the market capitalization, not for any specific countries, but global, worldwide market capitalization. And look at this chart. This is also showing a very strong upward trend. And we all heard that amazing news last couple of weeks about Apple and Amazon. Both of these companies crossed the 1 trillion market cap, 1 trillion, unimaginable 10 years ago. And this is not about the American economy only, because these companies are global. They are based in US, they operate in US, but they also operate in the remainder of the world very strongly. So that is also showing the global trend that businesses are doing very well, investors are very happy. Now, with all this information, which I only showed you as a glimpse, what should you expect how the job market will do? Job market should be booming, right? And it is actually. If you remember this slide, these numbers are from the few months old publication from Fortune magazine. Fortune magazine every year publish a survey, 100 best companies to work for. And this was part of that publication. They publish specifically the openings in these companies. Look at these companies: Google, KPMG, EY, Goldman Sachs, PwC, Deloitte, Accenture, Marriott. These are the companies where our dream jobs are, right? And look at the number of openings. So that's real, because this was published by Fortune magazine. It's a reliable source. Then why so many people in the job market are struggling at the senior level at least? And as I said, I see that every day, and probably you see that and you experience that. The problem is that you can see these jobs through this source like Fortune, but when you look at the market, these jobs are not visible. They are not posting it, they are not advertising it. You don't hear much about these openings because they are all part of the hidden job market. So there is no doubt that there is a lot of jobs available. And again, we are talking about the senior level, but it's not visible. Job seekers don't see that. They don't come across as frequently as they should. And by the way, there is another factor which confirms this trend. Businesses are growing, businesses are doing very well, and the reason is that businesses has also become very efficient over a period of time. There is a lot of investor pressure on businesses to improve, and based on that, they are trying to do more with less. So since the last global crisis, businesses have grown very well, but they have not really recruited as many people as they should have done based on the previous trend. And the reason again is that they become more efficient. Also, part of their efficiency improvement drive is that because they are trying to do more with less, anyone who is not working up to their standards, they want to replace those people, especially in the senior category, senior managers. So of course, they are very picky, very choosy to hire people from outside. So in a nutshell, the situation is that there are a lot of jobs available in these companies, but they are not hiring average candidates. They have become very selective. They can afford it because there is a lot of choice available. There is an oversupply or abundant supply of talent, so they can pick and choose. So that's one. But even for the talent which they have already recruited, already working in the companies, there is a safe estimate from, I talked to a few recruiters, that at least 1/3 of the positions at the senior level, like directors, C-level, GM, VPs, 1/3 of the positions or openings are related to the positions where the company wants to replace an incumbent. If someone is already working and the company or businesses are not happy with their performance and they want to replace those people. And of course, it's very confidential. So you never hear those type of openings available, but that's a reality. So there is a lot of candidates. There is a good supply of talent and there is good number of openings available. But as I said, the companies are not recruiting as openly, as frequently as they used to. They are very picky, very choosy. And that is the reason that most of the job seekers are struggling in the job market. Now, let me also explain from my point of view. If you are in the job market and you are struggling, it doesn't mean that you are not talented. You may be very talented, but you fail to understand the game taking place in the market, how you should present yourself, how you should approach these situations. So it's not related to your good talent or bad talent. It's related to the strategies and the tactics you need to apply to get your next job or next role. And that's what I'm going to explain you in this session today. But let's just take a step back. Let's try to understand what is happening or what has been happening in the job market. So let's start with the good old days. And good old days, I mean about 20, 25 years. So late 90s or around 90s. What used to be the case for job search process? So, and that's before internet era. So it was local jobs with local competition. Usually companies would not advertise any job outside the city, local city. And usually the candidates only from the local city would apply or would pursue those jobs. That was old times. Also, as a professional, if you were active during those times, you would recall that you were doing very well in your career with a small network of professionals around you and friends maybe. And even with the word of mouth, you were able to secure some good positions. The main source for the finding out jobs is basically local newspapers or talking to few people. And with those sources of information, sources of job, it was good enough. If you need a job, you will look at the newspaper, you will apply 10, 15 places, you will hear back from half of them, you would go to interview and probably you will get 1 or 2 offers. Pretty simple, straightforward. Good old days, as I said. What is happening today? Now, those of you who are younger, probably they might have not experienced that, but that was the reality not long ago. What is happening today? Today, we are living in a global environment. It's a global competition. Any job posted by any company, any opening, it's basically global. People from all over the world can look at that and have access to the job and can apply that. And to start with this intensity of the global competition, you are basically competing with 600 million professionals who are readily available, who are readily accessible at LinkedIn. So any employer, any recruiter could go to 600 million professionals and start their search process. And where to find jobs? You are not sure. It's not clear where to find jobs. Now, there used to be some job postings on internet, but it significantly dropped, and many jobs are fake, and many job boards are not reliable. Now, back to the global competition. Let me give you one very strong example from my own career. As most of you know that in the recent past, I think from 2010 to 2013, I have worked in Saudi Arabia with a multi-billion-dollar company as their CFO. Now, I never thought in my imagination, I'm living in USA for almost 20 years, and my family is well settled here. I never thought in my remotest imagination that I would work in Saudi Arabia while my family is living in USA. But that was back in 2010 when the global economy was struggling. I was out of job. And one recruiter from Riyadh City contacted me in New York. He found me in New York and started the conversation about that position. And I was wondering that are there not people in Saudi Arabia or Riyadh or Middle East? Well, as I said, it's a global market. They did not make any extra efforts. A global market was accessible for them and they wanted to hire the best person. So they approached me in New York. Long story short, I got the offer and I worked that position for 2.5 years. So that is how the global competition is working. Now let's look at these two scenarios. So good old days and what is happening today. So in the good old days, so recruiters were looking for candidates and there were basically a lot of candidates in good old days. And again, this is pre-internet era. The problem was that all those candidates were not visible because there were no internet. There were no means to reach them. So what recruiters and employers would do to find out the candidates for the jobs opening they have, they would use something called newspaper or a local employment agency or word of mouth. These things worked as a middleman in that time. Again, remember we are talking of pre-internet era. So candidate, if they are looking for a job, they would look at the newspaper or talk to someone or approach an employment agency. And recruiters and employers would make their job openings available with this media. So that is how they connected. The process was basically candidates driven. That if you need a job, you will search few mediums, newspaper, employment agency, word of mouth, and probably you will find jobs, you apply, and recruiters will interview and you will get the job and they will get the candidate, right? Pretty simple and straightforward. It worked very well because as I said, for local environment, local jobs, local competition, this worked very well. So what has changed basically in the last 15, 20 years, game has reversed. So from candidates searching for a job, today it's recruiters searching for candidates. And let me explain how did it happen. So pay attention here. We're still talking about the recruiters and candidates, right? Now we are talking of current era. Now all these middlemen were replaced by internet, right? So there is effectively no newspaper or middleman or recruiting agencies or employment agencies. Internet is there. Internet created access and transparency for candidates to approach recruiters and recruiters to approach candidates. So suddenly they did not need any middleman. Now, initially, recruiters also tried to use internet as a middle person, not really understanding what internet could do. They thought it's a replacement of newspaper, so they started posting jobs on internet. But soon, with the competition between demand and supply, it was clear that process was not working very well. Now, what recruiters learned very quickly, they don't need to post jobs on internet. They could find candidates they are looking for directly without posting a job. And this is what they started to do. So what is happening that candidates lose their comparative ability to find jobs. Recruiters got empowered by having access to a lot of candidates. So the process shifted from candidates searching for jobs to recruiters searching candidates. What is happening today is that if a recruiter need a candidate, without posting a job, they could start searching on LinkedIn, and usually they're able to find good candidates. I'll elaborate that a little bit more shortly. So if you are struggling in the job market, now keep these two scenarios in mind. If you are struggling in the job market, number one reason could be that you are not visible. Because as I said, most recruiters are starting their search process without posting a job. And where they start, they go to LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has 600 million people. So they cannot really approach 600 million people. But with the search engine, they try to find out maybe the 50 people or 100 people they are looking at profiles. And if you are not there in those 50 or 100, you are not there. You missed the opportunity. So that's the number one reason that you are not getting contacted by recruiters or employers, your visibility. Number two, even if you are visible, maybe you are not attractive enough, because there may be a lot of people visible. I think practically you could access 600 million people over there on the LinkedIn, but you don't want to because all of them are not attractive to you. So second condition is that, are you attractive enough to attract any recruiter and employer? And number three reason, that even if you are visible and you are attractive enough and they contacted you, but you are not able to demonstrate or prove that you are really attractive. So you look attractive, but you are not attractive. These are the three conditions. That's it. Simple. And if you look back, if you are one of those who are struggling, look back and see where you are, what is not working for you. So we talked about new rules of job search in this session. In a nutshell, these are the three new rules. Very simple, very straightforward. Number one, you must be visible. And your visibility, in other words, is your online presence. If you are not visible on online and you think you can get a job simply by sending resumes, forget about it. Now, again, be careful. I'm not saying that entirely sending resumes or CV is useless, but I'm saying this new trend of recruiter searching for candidate is taking over very fast, very dominantly. And soon that would be the only process. Currently, there is old process still working, some recruiters still doing that, but mainstream is very quickly shifting to this new process. So you must be visible. You need to ensure that. Number two, you must look attractive. And how do you make yourself attractive? That's your personal brand. So not only just putting your profile with a lousy picture on internet or LinkedIn, but also ensure that for at least for recruiters and employers, you look attractive through your personal branding. Very important. And finally, number three, you must demonstrate that your personal brand is genuine. And that would happen in the interview process. Because if a recruiter and employer contacts you, approach you after seeing your profile or going through your CV, keep assured that you qualify for that job. You fulfill all the requirement. That is why they have approached you. They have contacted you. Now they want to ensure that you match with their perceived value. So when they look at your resume, look at your profile, look at your personal branding, they develop a perceived value without talking to you. And they thought that you could be the right candidate, but they have to take the last crucial step, really talk to you through interview. And when they talk to you in the interview, either you prove that you match their perceived value, or you fail to convince them that you are the perceived value of the brand as they imagine. So that's a very simple process. Now I'm going to expand on this, but this is very important to understand in the beginning of this session that these are the three critical rules, and that's all. So for those of you, and I guess majority of you are still doing that, only totally relying for you, probably the resume or CV is the most important element of your job search. And that is why everybody is working to recraft resume. Well, the reality is traditional resume is almost getting dead. I said almost, so it's working to some extent, but not entirely. And recruiters are not waiting for your resume and CV to start the search process. They used to, because they have not visibility to candidate. Now they have visibility to at least 600 candidates. So they don't wait, or they don't ask you to send a resume. They start on their own. And they start the process, very simple, by searching online. Now, if you are visible and look attractive, they will approach you. Keep assured. Without you applying the job, if you look attractive and you are visible, they will approach you. And at that time, they will ask you a copy of your resume. So resume and CV is not completely useless. It has its purpose, but at a different place in the process, not as it used to be. Now, by the way, let me also clarify one interesting point. Many candidates or job seekers think that they have to declare to the world that they are a job seeker. They are looking for opportunities. So many profiles you would notice people like, I'm looking for opportunity, or I'm actively looking for an opportunity, as if recruiters and employers are only finding those profiles which says they are looking for jobs and they don't touch. Well, here is the reality. This reality is based on my personal talk to several recruiters. In the mind of recruiters and many employers, the best candidates are those who are not seeking a job. That's a harsh reality. It's brutal, but that's a fact. For them, the best candidates are not those who are in the job market. So what do? Without announcing the job, without anyone applying, they start searching the profile, whether they are in the job market or not. And most probably for very senior roles, they look at someone who is already working in a company happily, looks very satisfied, doing very well, drawing very high compensation, looks like there is no intention for changing a job. And that is the person for them, it's ideal. And they approach that person. And how they approach, they will just call them and tell them that, look, I have an opportunity like this. Do you know anyone suitable? You want to recommend anyone? Or maybe you are interested. And guess what? LinkedIn made a survey 2 years ago. Survey of all of their, at that time, maybe 400 million professionals. They made a survey asking people that without in the job market, even if you are very happily, satisfactorily working in a job, are you open to the new opportunities? So someone may feel that, look, this person is not looking for a job. And if I really go with an opportunity, they may be offended. So LinkedIn did a survey. And what did they found? They found 90% of the people, whether they're in the job market or not, always open to new opportunities. So they look like very happily, satisfactorily working for a company. And if you talk to them, 90% of the time or 90% of the people will be open to talk about it. That is how I got 3 positions in my last 10, 15 years of my career, CFO career. I never applied, but my profile was very strong. I was very visible. My brand was very strong on the online. It is still very strong, slightly differently. And without fail, every month, when I was actively employed as CFO, without fail, every month, 1 or 2 recruiters would call me on their own. And they start the same conversation that I have an opening. Do you know anyone, or are you interested? And I was always interested. I was always willing to start the conversation. So that is what the market is really. So go back to the 3 rules. I'm not saying that you should destroy your resume or CVs. Keep a very fresh, updated copy ready. And you could still apply. You could still send to the recruiters who are asking or posting the job. But keep assured that probably your next position would come by someone calling you. This is what I call don't chase job, attracted opportunities. So that's much fun, attracting opportunities than chasing jobs. Okay, so your visibility test. How do you know that you're visible or not? Very simple. First of all, if you're not visible, you do not exist in this world. Literally, you do not exist because nobody knows where you are or who you are. And to test your visibility, start with Googling yourself. So just put your name in the Google and see what happens. Now, my name is quite unique, Saleem Sufi. I'm not sure if there is anyone else with the name of Saleem Sufi in the world. So when I search Saleem Sufi, a lot of results come up, and I know those results. If your name is very common, like John and Tom, try to add some references. So for example, if you work in a company called Mark, then just mention your name and add Mark so it becomes more specific. And keep adding specific things unless you see that results related to you are coming on Google search. So maybe you see good results, good branding, or maybe you don't see anything. If you don't see anything after searching on Google yourself, it's quite horrific because you don't exist in the professional world. So that is what you would start testing. If you find that you are not that visible as you thought, at least ensure that you are visible on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. These are the 3 things Now, as I mentioned earlier, that things are changing so fast. Again, until last year, I was saying that just focus on LinkedIn. Don't worry about anything else. Now I'm realizing that recruiters are not depending on LinkedIn only. Right? Again, we are talking of senior roles. For many senior roles, even before approaching you, so for example, they found you somewhere on the internet and you look attractive and they want to approach you. Before they approach you, they would like to make another check on Facebook. How do you look on Facebook? How do you look on Twitter? Or general search where other results are coming from you. So they are not restricting themselves to LinkedIn. If you really want to position yourself, you need to search thoroughly. One idea is that if you don't find many results, try to create your own personal website. It's not a big deal. Many people are overwhelmed. Oh, I need to create my personal website. No, you can do it in 30 minutes. There are many free tools available on internet. You need to create just one page. And that's basically your branding page. Put your picture, put your achievement, put your accomplishments, couple of activities, couple of videos, that's it. But it creates a very good personal branding and impression for you to the outside world. Now, when you are trying to look at your visibility, keep in mind that it's not just putting your brief details on the LinkedIn or anywhere else. You need to decorate your profiles on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and anywhere else with videos, your personal videos. You are speaking or you are presenting, you are conducting a training, your few blog posts, your articles if you have written, any news about you, and pictures, of course, pictures and images. I call it decorating. So anyone comes here without going through the details, they look at your profile and it's decorated so well, they got a positive impression. And by the way, no recruiter employer is going to go line by line details. They first look at your profile. They don't read your profile. They look at your profile and they get the first impression. If they find interesting, they may look at more details. So we talked about visibility and then attractiveness. Again, you're not going in a modeling competition. By attractiveness, I mean your personal brand professionally. So what you need to do? What is personal brand? Personal brand is your perceived value in the minds of others. So when someone look at your profile and they get some impression, good or bad, whether it's good or bad, whether it's correct or wrong, that is your perceived value. And that perceived value, good or bad, right or wrong, becomes your personal brand. So you need to find out what is your perceived value around you, not what you think about yourself, what other people think about yourself, especially the people who are closer to you. And if that is something you don't like, you need to work on improving your personal brand. How do you do that? Now, personal brand, again, not putting your pictures or your videos. It's basically developed based on your achievement and accomplishments. What have you achieved? What did you do recently or in the past? When you talk about achievement and accomplishment, that will be related to your current or previous employer. Mention it in such a manner that it shows your transferable skill, because that is, I think, very attractive for a prospective employer, that how could you repeat those things in my organization? If you achieve something in your current role or previous employer, how could you do that again for us? Now, you could not repeat that entirely, but you would bring your transferable skills and try to do similar things. So keep focus on transferable skills, very important. Like in my case, I could give you many examples from my own long career. Balance scorecard, for example, and SAP ERP system. I could recall that some of the CFO level offers I got were mainly because I have an experience in implementation of SAP as well as my balance scorecard expertise. These two things were very attractive to them. So there is a lot of commodity type of skills and talents. Try to find out your niches. What is your brand? What is your specialty? And also the quality of connections and network you have. Who are those people you are connected to, you are close to? Very important for your branding. And of course, your positions and titles. If you held a position of CFO or group CFO, of course, that adds to the credibility and seniority to your personal brand. So these are a few tips on the personal branding. Also, don't forget that if there is some negative stuff already existing on the internet, because internet you don't control, it is also your responsibility to clean up. So when you are searching internet for your profile, also ensure that you clean up any bad or negative information about you on the internet. And there are few tools. If you Google, there are some tools and websites available which could help you with that. Also, for the senior role, C-level, or even for the director, GM, VP, or senior managers, many companies would run a background check. If they make you an offer, and the offer is always conditional to the verification of your background checks. And background checks, companies go in different details, like very detailed or very brief. But I think it's always a good idea to run a background check on yourself before anyone else does it for you, just to ensure that things look clean. It doesn't cost much, $20, maybe $30, but keep assured that any senior role, they are going to run a background check on you. So before they find anything negative, you should be aware of it and try to fix it as quickly as possible. Okay, third item, interview. So interview is nothing but a verification process. You need to ensure, you need to develop a mindset before you go to the interview that whatever perceived value, whatever personal branding you have tried to portray is going to be verified in this session. And that session is nothing but just a conversation. So how easy it is. They're not going to put you on a lie detector machine. They're just going to talk to you and maybe check a few verifications through documentation, but it's just a conversation. A very important tip about the interviews is doubling up or maybe tripling up your energy level. This is what I found, that simply by doubling your energy, it makes a hell of a lot of difference in the interview. And employers and recruiters love energetic people. Now, for finance professional, very critical tip I have advised many times before, that while, especially in the very important conversations like interview, don't try to talk finance much. Try to talk business. Try to talk strategy. You don't need to impress them with your financial knowledge or accounting knowledge. They already know it. Probably you are already qualified professional accountant and you have 10, 15, 20 years experience. So you don't need to impress them. What they need is to really know how much you know about business. And keep assured, if they are impressed with your business knowledge, they already know that you are a master in finance because you're a finance professional. Now, how do you talk business? That's a challenge for many people. Because they say, oh, I cannot really go and learn marketing and HR and production and engineering. You don't need to. You need to understand how a business model works at the strategic level, how the value creation takes place in your business model. Just take this challenge. Think of your employer, think of your current company you work for, and try to understand how the value is created in that business. That is strategic. If you could show off some of your strategic insights, you are sold. They would believe you that you have all the competency if you could talk that language. And this is what I have proved with many candidates, many students of mine going through the strategic CFO program. Now, another very useful tip is to rehearse, create small stories of your success and achievement, 1 minute, not more than 1 minute, and rehearse them again and again. Because you would realize when you rehearse them, the flow with which it comes afterwards is amazing. And you need to really tell those stories with high confidence, a lot of confidence, and with fluency. So if you do some practice, it will come very fluently and you should be able to impress your audience. Now, in interview also, you need to play with some tactics like highlight commonalities, not differences, because it's a process, whether you like it or not. Why people hire you? Because they like you. And that's what happens during the interview process. That somewhere during that conversation, there is a sweet spot. They started to like you, and you could notice that. And based on that liking, for whatever reason, they make you an offer. So liking takes place when there is commonality, when you're agreeable, when the two parties become agreeable on many things, they start to like each other, right? So interview is not the place to highlight differences or showing your disagreement as a principled person, but showing the commonality. For example, if the company says, we have this vacation policy, say, yeah, I have worked with previous company, they also had a similar vacation policy. Show your likeness for those things. It will help a lot. And absolutely, absolutely no question, no discussion about the salary or perks or any benefits. Even if they bring this topic to you during the interview, just try to delay it that, look, this is not my priority. This is not the number one thing for me to decide about the job. I'm looking for the challenge. But once you are made an offer, that is the time, that is the right time to start talking about salary, perks, and benefits. Believe me, you will do a very good negotiable job after the offer is made, because at that time, after the offer is made, their mindset is very, very different. They want to hire you, they want to keep you, they don't want to lose you actually. Okay, so we covered three things, right? I'm going to a little faster because, as I said, that I want to keep enough time for the Q&A session. So, and I'll give you the copy of the presentation so you can go on your own later on. But I will cover the main points I want to highlight here, and you need to really pay attention. So, I shared with you so far the fundamentals, the three crucial things or three crucial points or three rules you must ensure before even stepping in the job market. Now, the challenges in the job market, once you are stepped in, challenges are that most job seekers have no experience in searching jobs, or they never got any trainings. Now, it's getting very complex, as you could realize with the contents I'm sharing. They don't have any experience and they don't got any training before, right? So many of them actually pushed into with a surprise, with no preparation. Now, the number one thing, if you ask me during this job search process, if you are in transition, you don't have any job, most crucial thing is to manage your energies and manage your frustration. Because it will happen. No doubt it will happen frequently, many times, and you need to save it. Because the reason of your success is your energy and motivation. And if you lose it, then you don't have much tools and resources to continue your journey. Now, you could do a few remedies for that. So keeping involved at your professional platform, very important. It's very helpful. Now, many people complain that, look, I don't have time because I'm too busy in my job. Well, if you are not on a job, you have a lot of time. You cannot complain. So get involved with your professional platform or your institute, networks, whatever. Also, it is very important. This is such an important task of finding a job that developing job search strategy and executing with discipline is key. Let me share this quote with you. Strategy without tactics is slowest route to victory. You don't have any tactics, but you have a good strategy. But tactics without a strategy is the noise before defeat. It's not going to work. And this is what 90% of the candidates doing in the job search, just trying to find out tactics. I know many of you came to this session just to learn a few new tactics, what is working, what is not working. Well, believe me, there is no shortcut. You need to work hard. It's a hard work. It will take long, but you need to start with a very clear-cut strategy. What is the strategy? This is my template for your advanced career strategy. So in this template, I think there are also my videos available explaining this in detail on YouTube. So some of the expansion of the thoughts I'm sharing, if you go to my YouTube channel, you will find few videos with detailed elaboration. But in a nutshell, this strategy is about work-life integration. I'm a big advocate of work-life integration, not work-life balance. Now, many people may disagree with that. For those people, my argument is that work-life integration is not about workaholism. Absolutely not. It's about clarity. It's about defining your priorities. When family is important, of course. No compromise. When work is important, you need to take that seriously as well. That's work-life integration is. So it starts with you, your personal leadership. And then it goes to the how to deal with the external world. And then we'll be narrowing down on your expertise. And finally, broadly speaking, your results are your influence. If you are influential, you are successful. If you cannot influence people around you, you may not be successful. So your career strategy, it starts with you. And how would you start with you? If you have not done this exercise, again, there are more details available somewhere else. But briefly, it starts with your self-awareness. And if you are not sure how to find your self-awareness, start with a personal SWOT analysis. So for yourself, your personality, start with what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are the opportunities, and what are the threats. And do it many times with some interval, and you will find more and more clarity about your self-awareness. That should lead to your self-discovery, who you are, your identity. And it would give you a lot of self-confidence and belief in yourself. Look, nobody's perfect. What we are talking about, understanding yourself, who you are, what you could do. So first, spend some quality time finding out your identity and creating self-awareness. And answer your why. After this, answer why are you doing what are you doing. If you have an ambition to become a CFO of a Fortune 500 company, why? Answer that first. Why? Or if you are not for money, you want to do something else, non-profit after you retire, why? Or you want to devote your time more to the family, why? This why would give you clarity about your what and how. It will become much easier. And by the way, there is no right or wrong answer. It's very, very personal. And that's why you need to spend some time with yourself, creating self-awareness, self-discovery, and then you should be able to answer these why. And it's very powerful because it will create a very clear what and how for you. So that is your starting point, also the template I showed you. Now, it's a lot of hard work during the job search process. So it's all about execution, execution, execution. Now what happens, the biggest dilemma in this is everybody understands that, yes, I need to execute, I need to work hard. What happens, most candidates start with high level of energy, with very positive optimism approach. But if they don't see results in the beginning, they get frustrated. And frustration leads to loss of energy, disappointment. And with loss of energy, they slow down. Soon you will find in 2-3 months, they are not doing the minimum basic work they should do. Now, I see several people I know very closely. This is exactly what happened with them. They are very talented, by the way. And what their challenge was, they couldn't really manage their frustrations well, lost energy and slow down. So that is why it's very important that you create first a very clear-cut strategy, keep your head clear, anticipate all the challenges in it, and then start with a strategy and then keep a balance between strategy and execution. Now, another dilemma is that while you are in execution and something doesn't work, you go back to the deep thinking that whether are you doing the right things or not, whether you are in the right industry or not, whether this is the right place to do or not. You start questioning the strategy during execution. Don't do that. That's the most dangerous trap, which would suck your energy. So there is a very popular bestseller book named Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow by Daniel Kahneman. Now, this book is 500 pages. I'm not suggesting you to read it, but I can explain the bottom line of this book in one sentence, which is when you are creating, so there are two types of thinkings. Sometimes we need thinking deep, which is slow, when we are taking important decisions. So when you are creating a strategy, career strategy, job search strategy, take your time. You need to do a quality job. Think slow. But that should not be more than 20% of your time. And when you are executing, don't address or don't question your strategy. Just execute with fast thinking 80% of the time. So if you keep this guideline that, look, take your time 20% to create a strategy, but then don't question strategy, just execute. Don't wait for the results. Your execution should be your result. Now, best example is, for example, in my professional routine, what I do now, of course, I'm not corporate employee. I'm managing my own business, which is much more challenging and occupied schedules. What I do, I keep my weekend 2 days for my slow thinking, for a strategy formulation, for my plan, week plan, what I want to do, or how would I do it, if I need to change anything. So weekend is my strategy time, slow thinking. And weekdays is my execution. I don't question those things first. Even if something is not working, I defer it until the next strategy session. This is very important in the job search process. So start with a clear mind. Clean mind is very, very important because you don't want to be disappointed. You don't want to be frustrated. You need to accept all the realities. So first of all, forget your entitlement, which means that if you are the director, group director or group CFO in previous company and you had this degrees and experiences, forget of all that. Now, it may help you in your branding and placement, but that should not lead to any entitlement. Now, I've said that many times, your degrees and experience do not matter. It matters for the sake of making you eligible, of course, but it's not a deciding factor. When someone is looking your resume or CV or your profile, and they see that you are a chartered accountant from England and Wales, and you have 20 years experience in a multinational, well, there are 50 other candidates who have the same qualification and experience. They're not going to approach 50 people. They are trying to find one or two specialties which make you superior than other candidates. And that is your personal brand or your marketplace. So what is your worth defined by marketplace? Even for many people, it is true that you're drawing a very heavy salary package. And if you become unemployed and you go to the market and you think your starting point is your last salary, completely wrong. Market cannot be wrong. Just put yourself in the market and market will decide what is your worth. World doesn't, and don't complain. World does not owe you anything. Nobody is listening. Don't complain. Wasting your energy. And accept full responsibility of your life. Even if you were fired with a bad boss, something went wrong, accept that. It's not about questioning who was right, who was wrong, whether you made any mistake. It's just your sense of accepting responsibility of your life, which gives you empowerment. In my opinion, when you complain, you lose your power because you blame the world and you don't want to do anything. When you accept responsibility, you empower yourself and you want to do something, you want to fix those things. So Peter Drucker, I'm a big fan of him as a scholar and very talented person. He said somewhere in his life, business has only two functions, marketing and innovation. I think that is very, very applicable in today's professional life. Every professional has two functions, marketing and self-development. So no matter where you are in your career, invest in yourself. Think long-term. Now, many people think, well, I'm already in my 50s or my career is not really left long. Why should I really go back to the college or invest myself? Well, first of all, believe me, you are going to live much longer than you expect. The quality of life the people like you and me are enjoying, no matter which country you live, is going to really give us longer life. My father, 3 years ago, passed away at the age of 94. I hope I had some genes from him, but genes or no genes, the quality of life we are enjoying, the medical technology, the way it is developing, it is very much expected that you would live until 80, 85. 80, 85, true. If that is true, you could believe that, look, what are you going to do after you retire from corporate world, which will happen somewhere between 60 and 65? You have another 20, 25 years, a long time. So invest in yourself. Plan for your after retirement or second career. I started my new career at the time when other people are planning or preparing for retirement. Focus on your intrinsic value. What are the skills you could learn which you would carry with you? It's not your titles and roles which have been given by your employer. It's your intrinsic value. If you just go on the street, other people look at you, how much money they were willing to invest on you or give to you. And I wrote a post a few weeks ago about your personal balance sheet and P&L. Now, most of you are finance professionals, so take a look at that. And most of you understand the difference between balance sheet and P&L. Balance sheet is long-term, P&L is short-term. Focus on your balance sheet. Strengthen your balance sheet for the long term, and you'll be fine with your P&L. Now, companies hire you in senior roles. Companies hire you not to train you, but to let you deliver the results from day one. Are you ready for it? Don't expect that you will go and you will attend some training, learn something. They need someone readily available to deliver results from day one. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Regarding networking, many people get overwhelmed with the networking. In my personal opinion, networking today is much easier than in the past with the internet or LinkedIn. And again, I'm not going into the much details of each tactics here, but I'm giving you the punchlines to understand, for you to understand broadly what is it and what you could do. Now, don't waste your time going to the physical events, conferences, just for networking with a stranger. That doesn't work today's time. So you need to save your time. What is the best strategy is basically you warm up your connections online first. You connect with someone, you warm them up with a few exchange of communication, and then if there is the opportunity, meet them in person. That would be fantastic. If you could warm up your connections online and then meet them in person. So your job search, if you are in transition, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Now, it used to be an stigma 10, 15 years ago. Today, it's okay. Today, based on the economy, based on the competition, it's absolutely okay, even if you are fired. Because for most professionals, it will happen some way or the other. This is actually an integral part of your career journey. That if you look at your overall career, somewhere during that career, there will be few instances where you would be out of job, willingly or unwillingly, voluntary or involuntary. So it's part of your long-term career process, number one. Number two, you must learn and develop these skills. It's not some tragedy which happened with you and now you have to cope with it. No, it's part of the process. You may not know when it will happen, but it will happen sometime. And you need to know these search skills, how to do it. It's part of your professional development. As a matter of fact, in my personal opinion, when candidates or professionals are being trained professional development in their accounting qualification or their marketing or whatever subject they deal with, there should also be some teaching or training about job search strategy. It's so important. So people don't struggle when it practically happens with them. And during that process, never declare yourself as jobless. Never ever. Because you always have the opportunity or flexibility to do some consulting, training, coaching. Now you can decide how much time you want to invest in it, but never declare yourself jobless. Always mention yourself as if you are doing some consulting or you're doing some training or you're doing some coaching. At the same time, you're searching for a full-time opportunity. That's the best way. I think this is where I would like to stop. And if you're really keen to learn further on it, and I think you should, so here are a few sources for you. Watch and subscribe my YouTube channel. And there are, I think, 30, 40 videos, related topics you would find very useful, number one. Number two, follow me on LinkedIn if you are not yet connected. Because on LinkedIn, I'm very active. Every day there are my posts, 2, 3 posts. There are several articles, there are videos. So follow me and you will keep learning on the same line that I've tried to share with you. Also join the community. And we have established a MECA community of senior finance professionals. Specifically, there is a MECA Strategic CFO group. I think there are 120 people. These are all basically alumni of MECA, have gone through the leadership programs. And now we are also opening up this group to some senior level finance professionals, even if they have not done any MECA program. They could join if you're at the senior level like CFO or Director Finance or GM Finance or VP Finance. Send a request and you will join that community. As I said that there are 120 people and all of them have gone through the strategy program. So they're very knowledgeable, very talented, and a lot of discussion and communication takes place in this group. So connect with that group. And also finally, visit MECA CFO Academy website. And there are few training programs, CFO development programs available. Look yourself if anything works for you or suitable to you. So here is the first question. I'm recently being contacted from a multinational in service sector or to head the finance department. They've asked my current package and said that you are already drawing more than our budget, but let's have interaction. What should I do? Absolutely, you should be open. Don't share all these details if you're not comfortable. Tell them that these are not your priorities. You are more interested in responsibility. You are more interested in challenge. You are more interested to work for the company. And if they like you or they are satisfied with your background and qualification, we'll talk salary at that time. So try to discourage their discussion related to your salary and benefits, but show your interest full-fledged in the position and in the company. This is from Mohammed Imran. How much experience is normally expected before applying for a CFO position? There are no hard and bound rules for it, Imran. I would say that quality of your experience is very important, not the number. So if you have 5 to 10 year experience already in a senior role like financial controller, I think you could safely apply for a CFO role. But if you spend 15 years working as accounts receivable administrator, of course, you do not qualify. So it's more about the quality of experience than the quantity of experience. There is a private question which says, does LinkedIn profile need to match resume? Good question. Not necessarily, but there should not be any conflict as well. So you do not need to match it word by word, but overall there should be a conformity and alignment. And just to share with you, there is more and more consciousness and awareness about these LinkedIn, about these online profiles, because there is no control. So some people really put whatever they want to. In my last CFO role with this global company, so I was CFO there, and we changed our auditors, one of the big four. So this new big four came, and to my surprise, they sent a questionnaire to the senior management team asking to give them permission to our online accounts. I think it was mainly related to the LinkedIn, access to LinkedIn, because they want to look at that and verify some information. Now, I was a little surprised because LinkedIn profile was never considered official. It was all personal. What they wanted to check, basically, a conformity and alignment with whatever information we are declaring officially in the business on our resume or in our official records. How does it align with the personal profile on LinkedIn? And I understand that part because it's related to your credibility. If you show something very different, contrary to what you declared in the business and vice versa, it's not a good practice. And they did not do it for all employees, but for senior roles only. And I think that's a practice becoming more and more popular. So you need to be careful that if there is any disparity or conflict, you must remove it. When you said that the employers are not interested in your experience, so what are they interested when they ask question about my experience? Very interesting, Dhaval. So pay attention to this. Experience is important. Actually, experience is prerequisite, because if you're applying for a CFO and you don't have the required experience, you are even not in. But that is not a deciding factor. With the oversupply of talent, in terms of your education, in terms of your professional qualification, in terms of experience, there are a lot of other candidates who are really matchable to you, right? And there are so many people, employers cannot go one by one. So consciously or subconsciously, employers and recruiters are looking something different, something special about you. And as soon as they develop that feeling, develop that impression that you have different brand, For example, you are probably much more energetic. You are maybe much more strategic. You are probably much more open or friendly in communication. Maybe you have some edge how to manage people that makes you superior than other candidates. So if you don't have that edge and specialty, you are just another candidate. So back to what you asked and what I try to explain, experience is important, qualification is important, but these are an entry ticket to the competition, not the deciding factor to select you or to call you for interview. Okay, there is a private question. I have more than 12,000 connections on LinkedIn, but don't feel they can help me if I lose my job. Want to interact more with them? What is the best strategy for that? Good question. So, as I said, number is really not the solution. Now, number helps, basically. 12,000 is a good number. I would basically suggest that every serious professional, if you are at the senior level, you should target to hit 5,000 first level connection, 5,000, which is also a big number, but 12,000 is much better. Now, don't expect those 12,000 people to come forward, roll up their sleeves, and get excited to help you in your job as soon as you declare you are looking for a job. That wouldn't happen. In fact, reality is that if you declare that you're looking for a job, generally speaking, people run away from you. That's a reality, harsh reality. That's true, right? So you need to keep your prestige and ego or your dignity very high. This is difficult, telling the people, telling the world that you're looking for a job, but at the same time, don't show your desperate approach, that you are desperate to get a job, right? So never make such announcements. Now, when you start, what happens with the high number of connections, that if you want to connect to the recruiters, for example, there's a high possibility that there are already more recruiters in your first level connection than anyone else with 500 connections, right? That gives you an edge. If there is a recruiter first level connection, you could start a dialogue. Most probably they will respond. But if you approach a recruiter with a second or third degree, probably they would not respond to you. If you are doing the internet networking or LinkedIn networking, then more people are looking at you. With 12,000 number, give you the leverage to be more popular. Because if you write one good post, it's going to spread faster than someone with 500 first level connections. Now I have, I think, 24,000 connections. I develop them one by one. Because there is no way to upload a list and make those connections so high. So my approach, I could share with everyone who is looking how to really manage. So currently, I don't send requests. Initially, I sent many requests and I got good response. But currently, my approach is that I only do networking on LinkedIn. My networking is basically sharing my post, liking comments, sharing my videos, writing some articles, or sharing my previous articles. A lot of people like it. A lot of people make comments to it. And those people who regularly like it or they make comments, and if they are not my first level connection, I just go to their profile and make a request to connect. Now, by the way, many of them, simply by looking at my post and my articles, they themselves send a request for connection, which usually I expect. If they are finance professionals or any senior professional, corporate professional, I accept those requests. But even if they don't send, for whatever reason, and I see that they have liked my comments or my post, I send them a request, and I could tell you 90% of them always accept it. In fact, some of them send a thanks note that thank for connecting with me. I really feel privileged connecting to you. So that is how you expand. And as I said, that 12,000 people may not help you directly, but that number really gives you a lot of leverage to expand your influence and connect more people on the LinkedIn. I hope I explained that. Yeah, another question from Dhawal Javeri. If I have a decent LinkedIn profile, should I still make my own site, or should I just enhance my LinkedIn profile? Dhawal, I think I answered that during the session. I used to think that a year ago, that one LinkedIn profile is good enough. As I said today, recruiters and employers are not stopping at LinkedIn, especially if they have already narrowed you down. They want to call you for interview, or they have already scheduled you for interview. Keep assured they want to thoroughly search you on the internet, online, wherever you are. So it's your opportunity actually, that if more places you show your information, they already develop a positive impression. Look, it's difficult to give argument and reasoning for each and every move. Whatever is happening in this job search domain is more, in every buying and selling activity, I would say, is more emotional than logical. In fact, it goes back to a different subject, that most of the time as a human being, we use or we make emotional decision. When someone really hires you during the interview, the best fundamental reason is that they like you. Similarly, if they want to call you for interview or they want to approach you, if they like you, there is much higher probability. It's not only based on your qualification and experience and some other things, but if they develop a positive impression by looking at your profiles, they feel that they should talk to you. So there is a lot of emotional things, or I would call it marketing, that you need to market yourself. So when you have good skills, which is equivalent to a good product, that's not guarantee. That's eligibility, that in order to sell, you have to have a good product, but that's not enough. Then you need to do marketing. So even if you feel that you are fully qualified, you are fully talented, you have all the necessary experience, qualification, you still need to do marketing. And decorating your online profile is marketing. Okay, let me take this next question from Sajid Matthews. Also over this weekend, many economic readers, bankers, and Gordon Brown, having been referring to another recession in 2020. With this in mind, what advice do you have in mind for currently, steadily? Okay, very relevant point, Sajid. And in fact, I was going to cover that anyway. Look, the last financial crisis happened, it's almost 10 years now, 2008, 2009, right? According to the expert, there is expectation to have a recession and booming cycle with 7-8 years. So if we believe that 7-8 years is a usual period when the one economic cycle is completed, we are already stretching the boom cycle or boom era of after this last economic crisis, which means that it could happen anytime. If you look at the stock market, if you look at all other things, businesses, they are really creating a very big bubble. Companies crossing $1 trillion, billion market cap, it's a bubble. There is a correction is getting overdue now, which means anytime it could happen. And if it happens, it would be bad. Because if you stretch the prosperous time longer, the bad time would also be longer. If you go too high, the correction would be too deep. What does it mean for job seekers? It's a warning. Believe me, if that happens, your effort would be extremely difficult to achieve any results, because companies would not hire as many people as they are hiring today. There would not be as many openings as are today. There would not be that much cash available with the businesses, or sales would be going up as much as today. So take advantage of these good times. If you are still in the process, speed up your efforts before it becomes extremely difficult for you. It's easier now, it's challenging for many, many people. I understand that part. But imagine if another recession takes place like 2009, 2008, it would be extremely difficult. So try to really get rescued before that. A very good point from Sajid. And this is my answer. Okay, another question from Mohammad Ashraf. As the job market and demand is changing very fast, where we would focus more, technology or additional finance certification, your opinion? So Ashraf, is based on the individual situation. But as we are talking about the senior roles, my assumption or expectation is that if you have already one certification, you are in finance, that's good enough. And if you have experience, good experience, 10 years, you are in a good position. Don't worry about any additional certification or qualification or degrees, because you already have your entry ticket into this competition. What you need to really focus on, developing your leadership skills, developing your strategic skills. That's what really matters. So I think I have said that a few times, that your degrees, your certificates, your experience, these things make you eligible for the competition. These things make you equivalent to other candidates. You are commoditized. But really, to be picked up by an employer or recruiter, you need to have something different, some specialty. What is that specialty? You need to find out. And as I said, examples are that you are a very good leader, which is in high demand. There are not many good leaders around. Everybody thinks they are leader, but they are not. Are you a good speaker? Are you a good communicator? Are you a good negotiator? Are you good with people? These things really matter. So if you feel that you have already on the above and beyond the mid-career level, then focus on those things, not on the degree and certifications. Okay, this is from Ayaz. What are your views about having a premium LinkedIn account? I have used it for a year to enhance the job search, but it did not work. I don't think it's necessary. It's definitely helpful a little bit when it comes to the search functionality. A premium account gives you additional search functions. So if you are in a desperate mood, like you need to really connect and in the short term, you need to increase your connections, probably it's helpful for short term, but I don't think you really need it. You have enough already without this premium profile. Okay, Joseph Mitchell, have cover letters become extinct? I think pretty much. Really doesn't matter. It's a formality which is outdated. And now we are talking about resume and CV, whether it's necessary or not. So there is even no discussion about the cover letters. I think it's a waste of time on both parts. But don't tell me that you found one strange recruiter who demanded the cover letter. Things happen. I'm trying to generalize for the benefit of all of you. Okay, how to address the aging in the CV and LinkedIn profile? Should one be completely open upfront by disclosing the CV profile? No, the answer is somewhere in between. So of course, you don't need to print your date of birth or your age. But people are smart, especially recruiters and employers, and they will look at your year of graduation. Now you could completely hide it. Some people even go to the extent that really not mentioning the year of their graduation or dates of their employment. That's too much. I mean, they are going to hire you. They will know it, right? So you need to do somewhere in between and do it gracefully. If you are in a senior role with a lot of experience, like 20, 25, people expect that you would not be 20 years, 25 years young professional. That's okay. So when you show more responsibilities and more experience and more achievement, it is okay. I have seen people getting good jobs offers in late 50s. So it may be a barrier with some specific employers and recruiters. Generally speaking, I think people are pretty open-minded nowadays, and they are looking at talent than really age. So other things you could do is to, for example, if you're called for interview, show your energy. It's not about your age. It's about your enthusiasm about the opportunity. Okay, I'll take one more question and then we'll call it off. Okay. Venkat San, what do we answer to the question in interview? Why do you want to leave your current organization? Yeah, very common question. And I think the common answer is that depending upon your personal situation, if you are leaving too early, of course, you have to have a good reason for that. In that situation, never complain about the bad environment or bad behavior or bad nature of that job. Always try to find some other reasons. But usually, if you have spent 3 years in a role, in a position, it is expected that if you are an ambitious professional, career-oriented, career-focused,
You'll be looking for opportunities. So the best answer is, look, I'm very happy in my current job. There is no problem. I could continue, but I think I have more talent. I'm outgrowing my job. I'm outgrowing my organization. I can do more than that. I'm looking for bigger challenges. That should be the answer.